TYFU.
Marilla, the first order of business is to comment upon the fact that you're really embracing this monochromatic kind of trend that's going on right now.
Yes.
You literally, from foot to head, from head to foot.
I like how you went from the bottom up there. Nice.
It's just all Marilla's blue.
It is.
You got eyeshadow, you got nail polish, you got
I do.
eyeglasses.
It's all for your birthday, Beth.
Oh, that's right.
It's all for you. Mm-hmm. I knew that the monochromatic outfit was going to be the thing that stuck in your mind this year.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now you can take this into...
This is part of the gift,
exactly.
Is what you're saying.
You can take this into the new year for you.
Thank you, Marilla.
Yep.
Very thoughtful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Happy birthday, Beth.
Thank you. We're recording on my birthday. And
how fun is that?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to having you and Kelly.
I'm so glad, because I was a little concerned that you would think it was kind of a drag to be in the studio on your birthday when you could be doing anything else. So when you were excited about that, that was a real high for me.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for being here to celebrate my birthday.
Of course.
And I'm sure that the listener will want to write in with a happy belated.
I'm sure they will cheers you from home. Mm-hmm. Raise a glass.
Thanks, guys. Actually, you know how you started last episode, a new segment where...
Yes, I am a trendsetter. I just do things and it happens and people start talking about it.
I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
I want to embrace it.
All right.
You, last episode, talked about how you had an event in retail and
yes. My thought here is, like, there's so many, of course we have topics that are beefy enough for a whole episode. They're meaty. But then there are things that happen in retail every week that are not necessarily a whole episode, but worth mentioning. And I don't keep a diary or a journal. So this podcast is all I have. So I just think if we have something
immortalized
that
on the
exactly,
podcast.
I'm not going to write it down. It might be nice to just talk about those little things that happen throughout the week as they do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell a little story.
It's happening. The segment.
Yep. I came home a little early from work because it's my birthday.
Good for you.
I'm the boss.
You know what I say? Good for you.
So I came home a little early and it's a nice day outside.
Gorgeous.
And I decided, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to grab a glass of wine. I'm going to get loose before the podcast.
Love that.
I'm loosening up.
Love that.
And then I noticed someone pulling in my driveway.
Oh, no.
And I was like, who the hell is that? And normally, Marilla, I'm not that excited to see customers showing up at my house.
But it's your birthday.
But I realized it was a customer, a very pleasant customer, a very generous customer. Ooh. Who said, "Did you just leave work?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." And she's like, "I brought you something."
How nice.
On the gifts episode, which happened many, many moons ago, I mentioned that this customer had brought me something on my birthday a couple years ago, and I've just never forgotten it.
Right.
And today she showed up in my driveway with
a love letter.
These cupcakes that we've just enjoyed.
These delightful cupcakes that we just cheersed to your health. Mm-hmm. What a sweet thing.
Even though sometimes we complain about the customers, and I think we're about to complain about the customers.
What are you talking about? I would never.
I just want to acknowledge again that the customers literally go out of their way to track you down and give you presents sometimes. It's just so thoughtful.
They find you at home just to give you a cupcake and say, you know what, you enjoy that.
Happy birthday. Appreciate you.
And then she was out? Didn't linger?
She didn't even get out of her car. I walked up to her car.
What a dream.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes the customers are like that, and I just wanted to add that to the Today in Retail kind of segment that we're doing at the beginning of our episodes now.
Oh, I love that so much. I think that is so sweet, and I'm glad that it happened to you on your birthday.
Me too. I do want to do a tiny bit of business before we get into...
We have sponsors now.
We do. Awesome sponsors. And we are very passionate about our sponsors, and we love to highlight
the businesses and individuals that sponsor this podcast and make it possible. And if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, whether you're an individual or a business, we can make that happen.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Beth, have you ever heard of Kindred Fair?
I have. I've been there.
You've been there. I've been there.
Well, what do you like about it? Why do you go there so often?
I selfishly like how the staff gets to know people. And so I get to walk in and feel like a local celebrity because they say hi to me. They say, oh my goodness, so good to see you. Nice outfit. I do like to get a little fancy dancy over there, but you can wear whatever you want.
That's the thing that I like about them. You can be fancy dancy or you can just wear your jeans and roll on in because, you know, it's casual, but it's also really nice.
And the atmosphere is, it's bustling, but it's calm.
I was just going to say bustling.
I like how
Swear
bustling.
to God,
Yeah.
it's bustling.
I like the bustling vibe, but it's very peaceful and calm. So it feels like one of those places where you go to like have a very like confidential conversation in the middle of everything. It has an open kitchen. So if you were there and you really want to get into it, you can sit up along the bar and watch them cook. So it has that open kitchen. And I love that. One time I was there, they had a whole fish hanging from the ceiling.
A nice bar, too.
Great cocktails, great mocktails.
Reservations, I hear, are strongly recommended because they're always busy over there.
They are, and you can join them for dinner every night from 5 to 9 p.m. every night. So check them out, kindredfair.com.
All right. Ready to rip an envelope?
Let's do it. I'm done with my cupcake, and I'm ready for an envelope.
Now that your hands are free, I think it's your turn this week.
I think it is. With my blue nails, I will wrangle this envelope. It says gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting. Do you have an immediate reaction to that?
Well, when you suggested, I was like, what is she talking about? That was my immediate reaction when you said,
Sounds like
"Let's do an
somebody who's been
episode
gaslighted."
on gaslighting. I was like, that never happens, Marilla, which was me gaslighting you.
Yeah, right. Literally, I immediately got gaslighted by my co-host, Kelly, very supportive. Beth, grow up, Marilla. You've never been gaslighted in your whole life.
You don't know what you're talking about, you crazy pants.
You're imagining it. Oh, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm looking up gaslighting definition.
Okay, go for it.
Because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Oh, God, that's a long definition.
Okay.
All right. We're going to simplify. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse that involves manipulating someone into questioning their own reality.
Yes. And it comes from a movie. Did you ever see the movie Gaslight?
No. Is that where it all started?
Yeah. I don't know what year that was, but it's an old black and white movie.
I have seen pieces of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the movie. I would recommend it. I
bet you did.
liked the movie.
So you like the movie, and do you feel like there's any... I suggested this topic. I'll just out myself here. Because I feel like there are times when I have been a victim of gaslighting.
In your store.
In my store. How about you, Beth?
Certainly. I mean... Again, once I thought about it for a minute.
Let the record show that Beth said certainly after saying that was a stupid idea, Marilla.
I didn't say it was
verbatim.
No,
and then she wrote it in a letter and she put a stamp on it. You just don't remember, Beth. Okay, moving on.
So I didn't get it at first. I didn't get what you meant by gaslighting in the store. And then again, just hundreds of examples, perhaps. I mean, we don't have that much time in the episode for hundreds.
No.
But I think we're going to have kind of a rapid fire.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think this might be one of those episodes that makes us feel ungrateful and maybe a little guilty about bad-mouthing customers. Do we disclaimer this?
And I've said it before on the podcast. If you're questioning, is it you? It's not you. Marilla.
No, it's true.
Marilla,
She's right.
I mean, if you're self-aware enough to think this might be you, I just don't think that it's you.
Exactly true. That's our motto. We'll put it on a t-shirt sometime.
Okay.
So without further ado,
Yes, you start, because you must have had something in mind again when you suggested this topic to me.
I
What was
did.
going on for you?
I actually was not in my shop.
Okay, does it even count then?
You tell me.
Okay.
I was traveling the world. I found
As
myself,
you are wont to do.
as I want to do, and I found myself in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, right. Yes, you had a
Okay.
wedding. Yep.
Had a wedding, had to get my nails done, went to a delightful salon. And at the salon, I ended up getting my nails done by the owner because all the other girls were busy. And we started yapping about small business stories and just things that we can all relate to. And I said, gee, you should check out this podcast, blah, blah, blah. And she said, have you guys done an episode on gaslighting?
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And I hadn't thought of it. She shared with me a story about this customer that left a review online about all this stuff that happened at her salon that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was no one by the name. There was no one that could confirm the stories. And I want to say, I don't know if she reached out and said this didn't happen, and they said yes, it did. But it was a situation like that, where she had a review that was all over the place, and they were sure that it happened at her place, and she was sure that it didn't, and there was no resolving that. She just felt like there was nothing to do,
Yes.
and that was so relatable to me that I immediately texted you and Kelly that we should do that episode,
Yeah.
because I can't tell you how many times I've had a customer come in and tell me that they bought something at my store and they want to return it, or they want to exchange, or they want to buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen it before in my whole life. Mm-hmm. And they will dig their heels in until they're blue in the face, convincing me that I purchased and sold this product to them. Mm-hmm. And what do you do at a certain point when a customer is insisting on something you know is not true, but you still have to maintain your customer service?
It's hard. I mean, there's been many times that a customer has come in and said, I bought this here. You used to have it right here.
Yeah, right here under
Yeah.
this particular light, shining a beam right on it.
And I feel like I would probably know if I carried that.
Right.
But I've never heard of it.
I've never even heard of it.
So one of us is wrong.
Right.
And I often just fall back on customer service mode and be like, oh, gosh, I'm really sorry. I can't help you with that. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong directly.
I've used that move too. Mm-hmm. Well, it could be I just forgot. I sell a lot of stuff in here. I could have just forgotten.
Yes,
Who knows?
Exactly.
And I know.
Because what's the point of arguing?
What's the point? And sometimes they'll go around and they'll buy something else, or sometimes they stomp out in a huff because I refuse to admit that they're right, and I refuse to, sell them what they know I have tucked under the counter.
Mm-hmm. As if you're just trying to miss out on a sale somehow for some reason.
Just picking on them as if I'm gaslighting them.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing that just occurred to me while you were talking is I had a guy come in one time and he's like, is Chuck here today?
Chuck?
I was like, I don't know who you mean. He's like, Chuck, who works here.
Oh,
There's no Chuck who works here. And the customer was like, well, Chuck did work here. And
what did you do, you witch? What did you do to Chuck?
What did you do to Chuck? I was like, I don't think that there's ever been a Chuck. Now, here's me, the owner. I do all the hiring and firing.
Look at how quickly.
But I'm like, I just don't recall a Chuck. Gosh.
Maybe I forgot about Chuck.
And the customer was like, no, Chuck worked here for years and years.
Years and years.
Maybe he doesn't work here anymore, but I know that he was employed here.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I just don't remember him. I'm so sorry. And instead of being like,
Chuck never worked here.
No Chuck.
I don't know a Chuck.
So I'm apologizing in customer service mode.
It's a bizarre experience. It is. There's nothing like it because you just... I don't know why that is the knee-jerk reaction to just be like, let me check payroll. Let me see if Chuck is...
Is there a Chuck?
Let me just double check. I'll double check about Chuck. And then you call your payroll.
I mean, I sort of felt...
Why?
Like, there must be some misunderstanding here.
Yeah. It's probably me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a confident woman, and I am confident with who I hire, and you are too. But when that person comes in and says that, there's something in that interaction that just makes you 100% unsure.
It was the customer certainty that threw me. And then again, what is the point of arguing? I don't need to make the customer feel like you're just a big dummy.
No.
I don't need to.
No, because that's the thing too. It's not gross to say this, but you are at your store to make sales. And if you make that person feel like a big dummy, you're absolutely going to lose that sale. But if you can somehow navigate and be like, I don't know where Chuck is, but you know what? We just got some new arrivals. Let's just check over there for Chuck. Then you could probably convert that into a sale.
Right. Whether or not Chuck is the salesperson. When he's not here,
you have to do your
step
best
in for him.
You do.
One time a customer asked me how long I'd been at this new location, and I don't remember all the details, but I was like, I don't know, 5 years. And they're like, no, I think it's more like 3. Like they told
3.
me. They told me that it had only been 3 years since I relocated, when I very clearly knew that it was
it's 5.
longer than that.
It's 5.
But I guess they're the expert.
Right.
So I'm like, not both of us can be right.
Oh yeah.
So,
Speaking of that, when I opened my store, we have talked about this story before. When I opened my store in 2019, we were named something different.
yes, I recall.
Now we are named Marilla's Mindful Supplies.
Yes.
I was the owner of the first shop
Yes.
and this quote unquote second shop. And I had a customer come in and ask what happened to the owner of the other shop. Like I came in and ate them alive. So sad that shop went down.
Yeah.
And that this one was here now.
Yeah. And who are you?
And who do I think I am? And I said very lightheartedly, oh no, it was the same. We changed our name, but it's been me the whole time. And this guy was like, well, no, it wasn't, but
Oh, Lord.
but I'll check it out anyway.
Wow,
it's
thanks.
basically the energy that he had. Very kind of him. And he left saying oh, well, it is a shame to see things go under, but this is a nice place. And it was like, it didn't go under. We just changed our name. All is well. And he looked at me like I was trying to sell him a bridge and left. He did buy something, though.
Why can't he trust you?
I don't know. It's so trivial. I cannot even explain that feeling. And I don't know what to do about that, except to say, well, yeah, that last owner was an idiot, and
she went out of business because she just couldn't hack it.
She couldn't hack it. I crushed her, and I am also prettier than her. So, what can you do? It is what it is.
So, some quick ones. You're never open.
Oh, I didn't even think about that in the context of gaslighting. Yep. Ooh.
No other stores in Geneva are open. Right?
Yeah.
There are no other stores in Geneva.
There are no other stores in Geneva. Yes.
Yes. Why do people need to make these declarations that we know aren't true?
It's just not true. And why would it be? Why would we be here if we were never open?
I know. How is this business surviving?
It's surviving?
When we're only open maybe this 15 minutes that you happen to be
Hyperbole
here.
is abused.
Yes.
Talking about hours, I recently had a customer come in and ask me if I was still sending emails. And I have been a little off my email game, so I just
You're not sending
responded, in the last couple weeks, we have not sent any, so don't worry, you're still on the list, da 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 da. And this customer said, oh, well, I guess I missed the email where you announced that you changed your hours. And I said, oh, I haven't changed my hours recently. And this customer told me, oh no, you used to be open until 5 on Saturdays. And now you close at 4. I used to come here around 5. And I have never been open until 5, you guys.
On Saturdays?
On Saturdays. And so we had a slightly tense moment.
Because did you say I've never been open till?
Yes, I did. In a very nice way. This customer wasn't necessarily being confrontational, and I wasn't being confrontational back. It was just an exchange of information, and half the information was not true. And I am the authority on when I open and what emails I send out. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or I've got a mind like a steel trap, but
you know your hours. I
know my hours. I know it. And that was a perfect example. Oh, no, I used to come here.
One time I had, I overheard one customer telling another customer. Now, I should add, I am in a single-story building, and I have been in a single-story building for 8 years.
Okay. It is established.
Right. Before that, I was in a different location on a different street that did have 2 floors.
2 floors with some very creaky stairs.
Yes. 8 years ago. So I recently overheard one customer telling another customer, pointing out where the stairs were before I ripped them out and tore down the second and third stories of the building that I'm in now.
Of your previous building. Who needs those stories?
Right, but they didn't realize they're in a completely different building on a completely different street. They just...
Wow.
Where one was explaining to the other that I'd just done
Just how much did that cost?
Strange. Like, why would I rip out...
stairs, all this extra merchandise,
all the storage space, and
you just felt like you needed to sweat a little bit in a smaller spot.
And how could this construction project go on in downtown Geneva? With no
you probably did it in a weekend. Probably just really quick. I got it done
after I closed early on Saturday.
Exactly.
Yes. Just knocked down 2 extra floors.
Took down the 2 stories. Opened back up on Monday.
Ripped up the stairs. Yep.
I love that for you. That's so funny, and because that's so. I mean, it's frustrating, but it's also sometimes it's endearing and funny in a way because that person wasn't even talking to you. No. They were just
sharing
excited
facts
about your store.
Sharing facts about how
things change and you're so innovative. And one time I had a customer come in my store that I had not seen in a very long time. And you and I both know when you have customers, even if they're not regulars in a small town, you kind of keep track of them a little bit in your mind, like the rhythm of their visits. So I would say this person maybe came in every 3 months. And I feel like I hadn't seen him in a year, maybe 2. And I had been thinking about, like, gee, I wonder if so-and-so's okay. And gee, I wonder if we broke up and if he's never coming back or whatever. And he came in one day and we had a fairly normal interaction. And when he got to the counter, he got really awkward and he said, it took a lot for me to come back in here today.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't remember what episode.
I vaguely remember this. Okay.
But we're going to touch on it lightly.
Okay.
Took a while for me to be able to come back in here again. And I was immediately invested and stunned. I said, what do you mean? What happened? And he said he proceeded to tell me a story about how he bumped into me at a local grocery store and I was with a friend and he talked about a hobby of his And the friend that I was with mocked him and belittled him and made fun of him, and I laughed along. Ha 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 ha. And he stood there waiting for me to apologize or grovel or whatever he wanted from that. And it was the most bizarre experience because, as I said before, I have no recollection of this. I do not drink excessively. I do not black out
In the grocery store.
in the grocery. Yeah, just in the. I keep it pretty tightly laced in the grocery stores, and I cannot, for the life of me, imagine that happening, and I can't remember it. But here I was with a customer, pretty much demanding an apology.
The customer was demanding an apology from you for your friend being rude and you laughing along and mocking him.
I mean, mistreating him in the story.
Yeah.
That sounds like a real asshole thing to do. I would be mad too if that happened to me.
But then what are you supposed to say? I'm sorry, I don't remember how. I don't remember that time I was being so
Right.
crappy to you
I was
in the grocery
really-
store.
I was really like frozen for a minute because I know that
Never happened.
never happened. But I'm staring at this man with real hurt in his eyes,
Yes.
and he's mustered the courage to come back into my store and tell me this story.
Yes.
And all I could
Because
do...
he wants us to heal his relationship with you. So all you could do.
And kind of holding his purchase hostage, by the way. And all I could do was I just thought that honesty would be the best policy, not in a
Sure.
you're crazy, man. That's just your opinion. I just said, I have no idea who that might have been that was with me, but I'm so sorry that you were hurt by this experience. And I don't know if that's I still to this day don't know if it's the right way to,
I don't know a better
tackle
way.
that.
What were you supposed to do?
I don't know.
I think that was very generous of you.
It was the biggest example of when I came back to thinking about this topic, I thought to myself, I know we touched on that before, but it was such a gaslighting moment because he wanted me to feel shame
Yes.
and he wanted me to feel sorrow and he wanted that apology or he was taking his business elsewhere. And I mean, I guess I could have dug my heels in and said, you're crazy.
Your hobby
old
is
man."
stupid.
Yeah, only nerds do that. Get out. I could have, but I mean, I was in the moment. I wasn't feeling like super prideful. I just felt kind of bad that this man
Of course,
had
and
like
maybe caught off guard.
Yeah, I just felt bad that this man had been ruminating over this for so long. Maybe it was a dream. I don't know.
That he had.
Right? Not that I had. Maybe it never happened to me.
Maybe he never came into your
Maybe he
store and
never-
demanded an apology.
Maybe I am crazy.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, thanks.
That's me gaslighting you.
Thanks.
But it reminds me of a story that I don't think I've told on the podcast about this time a customer was in my store. I remember her visit clearly. It was me and my employee, Chelsea, and this customer. And this customer likes to banter and chat, and I felt like we bantered and chatted, and she left. And then
You bantered the hell out of that situation.
Yep. A few hours later, she called me on the phone, and she was grossly upset, really shaking.
Oh,
and
my
she
goodness.
she explained to me that what I said to her in my store, she thought was so rude and inappropriate and cut her to the core.
To the core.
To the core, so much so that she had to call and let me know.
Oof.
And I said, I'm so sorry, but I don't know. I just don't know what I said. That I just don't.
Nothing stuck out to you in the interaction.
Yeah, I was completely caught off guard. I said, what was it that I said?
Yeah.
And she said, well, I don't remember, but I've been thinking about it all day.
Oh, my dear Lord in heaven.
I got to say, like, if you tell me you've been ruminating on something that I said for 4 hours and then I ask you what it was and you can't tell me, I think I am ready to pick on you.
Yeah.
Because you're calling me now at my place of business where I'm supposed to be selling birthday cards,
working 9 to 5.
And I'm on the phone with you for 20 minutes apologizing for something.
And calming you down.
And talking you off the ledge as you explain to me.
That you don't even remember.
That what a good customer you are and how I should treat you better.
Well, right. That was a similar situation with this. It was like he wanted so much validation from it. And I took a lot of time with him to have that discussion. And we left on good terms. But when this person left, my employee who was there at the time pokes her head out and goes, what just happened? Unreal.
Well, when Chelsea came to work again the next day, I was like, before I even said anything about what had happened to me, I was like, tell me what happened when so-and-so was in the store yesterday. Repeat everything that happened as you remember it. Repeat everything I said, that you said, that she said.
Right.
Tell me what happened.
I need reassurance.
I needed to hear without any kind of gaslighting of Chelsea's mind.
Right.
What do you remember from this?
Okay.
And when Chelsea repeated to me what she remembered, it was
fine.
It was fine. Like,
ooh, yeah. So, I mean, for as many funny gaslighting stories as there is, there are some that really make you sweat. And like I said, maybe we've told those stories before, but I feel like they bear repeating in this episode because they were such stark examples of that behavior. Also, I've had the experience where someone will give me someone will give me money for a purchase.
Yes.
This happened to me years and years and years ago before I had my own store. Working at a cash register, someone would give me money. I'd put it in the drawer. I'd give them their change. And they would say, oh, no, I gave you a different bill.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, let's take a moment to do some practical business advice.
Oh, this
I know
is
we
great
hate
advice.
to do that. We hate to do that on this podcast.
Yeah, again, take a break.
Yeah.
Go get a drink if you want.
Fast forward through the practical advice.
10 seconds forward, 10 seconds forward.
Yep. But of course, cash register training.
Yep.
How I do it with my people.
Same.
The customer hands you a bill. It's a 20. He's like, a 20. And you say it out loud. You put it on top of the cash register.
That's right.
You ring in the 20. You hand them their change. You count out your change. They acknowledge.
They confirm the change.
Yes.
And if they try to gaslight you, you grab that sticky little $20 bill and you wave it in their face.
Because you haven't put it in the drawer yet.
Put it in the drawer. Although, have you ever given the $20 back? Like when you're giving change, have you ever grabbed the wrong? Like I've done it before where I've been like chit-chatting, yakking it up so much with a customer that I just take all the money that's on the counter and I give it right back to them. And thank God for honest customers. They'll be like, no, this one is for you. Right. And this is my change.
Right.
It's happened to me before. But yeah, for the love of God, everybody knows this. All you shopkeepers know this.
All you shopkeepers know this, but maybe your employees don't. If somebody says, I'm going to hand you this, $100 in 20s, count them out.
Count them out and leave them on the counter while you get the change. For the love of God.
I think there's a couple of different reasons that people might try to gaslight you. One is that they're making an honest mistake. Another is that they're trying to trick you into giving them extra change, and it's more manipulative. Another might be that they're trying to satisfy some kind of need for control or dominating a narrative. Something else is going on in their lives, and they bring that in and just kind of dump it on shopkeeper.
The baggage. It does make you wonder if they are, I mean, I'm sure I've done this in the past, wrongly assigning an experience to you that they had someplace else.
I mean, memory is faulty. We all know this.
Faulty. Come on. Like, I mean, I'm not faulting anyone for misremembering, but to dig your heels in, I think, is what really hurts. And I think all kinds of people experience this, whether you're a shopkeeper or even like a musician. Like for me, on stage with the band, we've had scenarios where people come up and they say, "Oh, will you play that song you'd always do?" And they say what song it is. We've never even heard it. Mm-hmm. And then they insist and insist and insist, and to the point where it gets almost disruptive in certain settings. Mm-hmm. We don't know it. We have never heard it, and we've never played it.
And we're not just trying to be a jerk to you. We don't want to ruin your night by not playing it.
Right. And so I think there is something to be said for outside baggage kind of like seeping in and muddying experiences with just the generic shopkeeper or the generic musician that they might not remember exactly what band they saw play that song, or the radio host, shout out Kelly Walker. It's tough to keep it all straight.
I had one time a man and a woman, a boy part and a girl part, as we like to call them.
As we call them.
A man and a woman came into the store. The man had said, "I'm looking for Stomping Grounds." And I was like, "Well, you're here." And he said, "Well, I was in Stomping Grounds yesterday and it was a completely different store." What? And I was like, okay.
That's exciting.
Like, were you in the coffee shop Grounded around the corner? Maybe you got us mixed up with Grounded. And he said, "No, it's Stomping Grounds. A lot of books, a lot of like old maps and some framing and stuff like that."
Sounds
and I'm
right.
like, "Okay, well, great. You're here."
Right.
And he said, "Well, I wanted to bring the girl part.
Yes.
I wanted to bring this woman with me to show her the shop, but I'm sure I'm not in the same place."
Holy Lord. I'm invoking the Lord's power a lot in this episode. I apologize if that offends.
He said, "The store I was in yesterday was not at all like this. But you've just said it's books and maps and framing and like
just like this.
Just like this." So then he decided that he better get on his phone.
Oh,
and
Lord.
figure out where the other Stomping Grounds was in Geneva.
Right.
That had books and maps and framing.
Your hottest competitor.
Right.
Stamping Grounds.
And I was like, Stamping Grounds. Finally, he's just like, "Well, I can't find anything else, so I guess this is the place. And
I guess
this will have to do."
Second-rate excuse for Stomping Grounds is just going to have to satisfy us.
But the way that he described it was literally 24 hours before he had been in the store. And
Did
somehow,
you recognize this?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I think he's crazy. Like, I don't know what was happening, but it just seemed like, I have no idea, Marilla. I just don't know how to process that or what to say, except that this is the only Stomping Grounds in Geneva that I know of.
Right.
And
that's all I can say to that.
And that's all I can say.
To that.
And I'm sorry it's a disappointing experience.
Yes. Compared to your
next to yesterday's visit to the other Stomping Grounds. But here we are, and I guess we all just have to settle.
We have to settle. We do. I once, when I worked in the health food world, we had people coming in for supplements more often than we do nowadays. And one day, I don't know if this qualifies as gaslighting necessarily. Well, yeah, I guess it qualifies. One day, this gentleman came in, and he was a black gentleman, and he was distressed, and he came in, he wanted a supplement. So let's go, let's figure it out. And then you have to ask, what's the issue? His issue was that every morning when he takes a shower, he turns into a Caucasian man.
Interesting.
And someone at our establishment told him there was a supplement that would fix that.
Stop that.
Stop that from happening. He didn't remain Caucasian.
How long was he Caucasian?
Like maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then back to normal. And I spent probably an hour with this man going through so many supplements.
What do you say?
Because I couldn't. Obviously, he was experiencing something outside of the realm of herbal supplements, or maybe inside the realm of herbal supplements, just stronger than I was selling. But again, he was insistent
And distressed.
And-
he was distressed.
insistent and distressed. And what am I to do? I'm there to help the people. And so I just said, well, maybe we're talking dry skin. And we started going down the road of like supplements that would help your skin, collagen. And he was getting exasperated with me because it wasn't dry skin. And then he was like trying to solve it himself. Like, okay, show me what supplements would help with this skin condition. And it was just a wild goose chase, obviously. But he left exasperated with my customer service.
Yes.
And lack of expertise. And I have never forgotten that, man. He wasn't necessarily rude to me, but he was disappointed and insistent. And I don't think I could have done anything differently there, but it is an example of someone telling me. And he was so reasonable, too. It was a weird experience because listening to him, you would have been like, yeah, that sounds
All right.
terrible.
Well, let's pretend for a second.
But
you're still trying to help. You're still trying to help.
I'm still
even
trying
though
to
you
find that
can't wrap
supplement.
your own mind around it.
Yes.
The customer service drive is so powerful
Yes.
that you can't say to the customer, I don't think this is possible. I don't think this is possible.
Yeah. I don't know that this is just a humanly possible, plausible problem that we can solve with vitamin C.
Yeah.
But in the moment, we're in it and we are tackling it together.
Yes.
And it is just a unique moment because there's so many instances that we as shopkeepers will unabashedly tell someone, get out, we're not on the same page. We're not for you. This isn't your place. When dealing with certain types of customers, like we can put our foot down.
Mm-hmm. We've broken up with customers before.
We've broken up with customers. We've kicked out shoplifters. We're a tough bunch. But there's something about a pleasant person that is just determined to gaslight you that just takes the fight right out of me sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think maybe half the time it's like the people that are kind of gaslighting me in my store are usually kind of pleasant. Like they're not usually being really mean.
Yes. So it's not the manipulative kind.
Yeah.
It's the honestly confused or misled or misinformed or
right.
Yeah.
Because I've had on occasion someone coming in and demanding a refund for something, and it's not something I sell, and you can kind of feel immediately that they're just trying to make a buck, and they're being manipulative. Those people I have no trouble being like, nope, never seen it before, beat it.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that are really nice to you and like, oh, you poor thing, you don't remember. You don't remember that you had stairs here.
In terms of not wanting to let customers down, because I deal a lot with used and rare books and mats and things like that, I'll sometimes, and again, I might have mentioned this in the past, sometimes have to let a person who comes in and tells me that they have an original Shakespeare, I might have to let them know that they don't.
I love original Shakespeare.
Yes, and it's amazing how often an original Shakespeare turns up.
Well,
and also, Marilla, original Bibles. Sometimes
That's my
people
favorite thing.
tell me that they have original Bibles
And yet you
that
hold
they'd
out on
like
me.
to sell. And I'm like, I don't really know what the fair market value is on that, but I'm pretty sure
You're gonna have to talk to God.
And maybe I've told this before, but there once was a man who came in to tell me that his map was 200-ish years old or whatever, and I was like,
pretty old
no,
map.
it's not. It's actually
Did you think it was
not.
like 10? How old
I
did you
thought
think
it was maybe like 15-ish based on the paper type and stuff. And
That's
he
so different
did
than
not
200.
believe me. He didn't. I mean, he just refused to accept what I was saying. And I was like, well, you can have your own store if you want to, but you cannot come into my store
Right.
and tell me what this thing is worth to me.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes me think of like sales reps that come in and like assure you that you don't understand. Like this will sell and you will be a millionaire if you bring this product in.
Yes.
You're gonna make it. Finally,
Right.
You're stop scrapping and start living.
This is the answer.
Yeah, and
it's going to be this pair of gloves with Finger Lakes maps on it that's going to just change everything for you.
Change the
if
world.
only you weren't so foolish.
So foolish.
Just turn them down.
Can't you see that all your customers are asking for this item? And I can't, that you have to stand strong in those moments because those are like, the gaslighting is coming, the sales pitch is coming, and you have to stand strong.
Yes, because so often it's easier to just be like, okay, fine, sell me 30 of them. I'll see you later.
Oh, gosh, not me, man.
Get out of my store. I know you wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
That reminds me, though, in terms of salespeople trying to sell you stuff, we got a call from Shopify, I don't know, this week or last week. They were saying that we should upgrade our service.
Oh, okay.
Go to the next platform.
Level
whatever.
up, dude.
Yeah, level up. Because
Lock
now
in.
that we've had $1 million in sales in the last year, we really ought to consider getting the next. And Beth, you were
tier.
Like, what?
Woohoo!
I was
Props to the champagne.
I think you must be confusing us with some other stomping grounds because.
The other one.
The one that guy was in yesterday. They did $1 million in sales last year, but it definitely wasn't me. And the sales rep was like, no, I can see it right here. I've got the numbers in front of me. Shopify is convinced that I'm very successful.
Bethany, I love this for you. I mean, people can gaslight me with that all the time.
I know. I wish it was true.
Gosh.
I mean, I'm on a good path, Marilla. We're growing every year, but
it must be the other stomping grounds because they have original Bibles and 200-year-old maps.
Right. You know what the other stomping grounds also has?
What?
I got a call once about it was a customer wanting to know if today we were also offering the macaroni and cheese with brisket.
Ooh.
Because the other stomping grounds has a brisket macaroni and cheese.
Oh my God.
I said, I think you must be thinking of another stomping grounds because we're basically a bookstore. And the woman on the phone said, yes, but you're also a restaurant. Like I wouldn't know if there was a kitchen in the back.
Come on, snap to it. Grow up, Beth. Go make some mac and cheese. You've had this restaurant for years now. It's about time you made some food. Wow, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, I know. I wish that we did have brisket macaroni and cheese, but we don't. I know
Not
for
yet.
sure. I know for sure that we don't.
Okay, well, joke's on you because I was there last week slinging macaroni and brisket.
Saying offensive things to the customers that you don't remember, and neither do they.
There was another one that wanted to know what our original name was. I told them, and they said, no, that wasn't it.
Oh my gosh.
That wasn't it. It was something, and they spent like 15 minutes hemming and hawing about what it possibly could be. And literally, guys, you can Google it.
Yeah.
You can Google it. I don't know how to scrub the internet of that history. It's out there. They puzzled their brain to the max.
And they couldn't trust you what your store was named.
Not me. My brains are addled at this point. I mean, that's one that has stuck with me. No, not that. Not that. That doesn't. I think they told me the name I told them, our original name. They told me it didn't make sense. Like that name didn't make sense. That wasn't it. I was like, well,
for goodness
I mean, in a sense, I can't argue with that. We're not named that anymore. It didn't work out.
You remember last episode we were having a good hearty har about my dad maybe being dead, even though he's not. remember how hilarious that was?
Oh.
Well, this reminds me of a time where my mom, who was widowed, was asked what day of the year my stepfather had passed.
Okay.
And my mom said the day of the year it was, and the person she was talking to, who hardly knew the man, was like, no, that's not when he died.
No.
Like my mom would know what day her husband died. And she's got to now defend this to this random stranger who's just like, kind of like, no, I really thought it was in April. Like,
I don't know, but I do know it is a common occurrence, whether it is someone telling you that your dad didn't die then, or that you used to be open at midnight, but now you don't do that anymore, or you used to have stairs and now you don't.
Yeah.
It comes in a myriad of forms, but it happens so frequently. I just had to take a moment today and laugh about it because every time it happens, it triggers something in me, and it's I think the medical term for it is a bitching hour. That's
Do
what
you
it
think it happens more because you're a woman?
Ooh. Well, I'm not a man, so I
hard to
can't-
tell.
It's hard to tell. I don't know. Maybe we should have had a man on this episode.
Well, he wouldn't even know what we were talking about.
We could gaslight him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do sometimes wonder. I have had a lot of these experiences with men. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it would happen less. I wonder. I hadn't thought about it. I mean, I don't know if it's to do so much with like boy part and girl part as it is to do with you're the clerk behind the counter.
Yes, there's a weird
there's like a weird power
there.
structure there that, I mean, some people don't lean into that, but some people do. And they're like, oh, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Can I speak to the owner? You know, it could just be that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe this happens to me. I'm not sure. Again, I haven't been tracking it that, accurately probably over the years, but it might happen to me a little bit less now that I'm older.
Ooh.
It's,
I got that to look forward to in my young.
Even though I feel like I'm equally gaslit by men and women, I just wonder if those men and women would be so prone to gaslight me if I was a man. I don't know. Hard to say.
Isn't there a Beyonce song about that? If I was a boy.
I don't know.
Pick it up, Beth.
So I've got one more. I don't know if you have any more, but
Lay it on me.
was interesting to me when a lady came into my store one time and she said, my daughter has been trying to come into this store for the last 17 years, ever since she moved to Geneva, but you're never open.
Oh, my.
And in 17 years, she's never been able to catch you open.
That's so rude of you, Beth.
And I was like, that's strange because we haven't been open for 17 years yet.
Number one.
And then the woman asked me if maybe I was new here and didn't realize how long we had been
like
open.
you're the new hired
because
help?
She's never seen me at Stomping Grounds in the past 17 years. I'm like, well, maybe it's because for several of those years we weren't actually open. So you might have missed me.
You
then.
probably missed you then. Yep.
But she was convinced that we had been open 17 years sort of, but because we're never open at any time during the open
You
years.
existed for 17 years somehow.
Right. And that I was just kind of this like random loser new girl who had no idea what was going on in the store.
Let me talk to the manager with 17 years of experience. Oh my. Oh my.
But that one had so many of them. Boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom.
You can't even decide which one to attack.
Right.
Really. So what did you...
I don't know what I said.
Who knows? You blacked out.
Yeah, I wrote
know
it
how
down
goes.
and I was like, someday when I have a podcast.
I'm going to get back at that lady. And then that'll teach her.
Okay, so this other time that I was kind of misperceived as not the owner and founder of Stomping Grounds, but as like some kind of
girl.
like
New hire.
Yeah. This one time that I was kind of perceived as low on the pecking order was when a guy called and emailed both, but I didn't get to his email right away. So then he called. He called from the BBC and he asked to speak to
The BBC?
The BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Did he have an accent?
He did have an accent.
Ooh.
And he asked to speak to a gentleman called Havelock Nelson, who I had not heard of.
Oh, well,
I'm ashamed to say.
He worked with Chuck.
I know.
Havelock Nelson?
Yes.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of Havelock Nelson. I explained to the gentleman, I think his name was Nick. Yeah, Nick from the BBC.
Okay. All right, Nick.
Yeah, he didn't believe me.
That you hadn't heard of Havelock.
That I hadn't heard of him.
Okay.
He thought I was just sort of gatekeeping because apparently Havelock Nelson is a BFD.
Okay.
And fanboys and stuff just try to call up and speak
Climbing through his windows.
to Havelock. And Nick from the BBC was not going to take no for an answer.
Okay.
So he started giving me his credentials and explaining what big deal journalist he works with at the BBC.
He's not a fanboy.
And no, he's legit, and he was willing to send me, a list of credentials and references and things like that.
Why did he need Havelock?
Well, because so-and-so at the BBC was working on a documentary on the formative years of Biggie and Tupac.
Oh.
And apparently Havelock Nelson is a journalist who
Has the
is
intel,
kind of
the
like
inside scoop.
on hip-hop. Like he's an important hip-hop
And the only
journalist.
thing standing between Nick from the BBC
Yes,
and Havelock is
me.
Beth Haswell, the new hire at Stomping Grounds. Wow, I love this.
It went on for so long, Marilla.
Right,
like
because
Nick from the
you-
BBC knows what he's after.
You
He
were
wants
playing
it.
hardball, though.
Yes, and I wasn't gonna connect those two, not without a bribe at least.
No. I mean, come on, that's not how Havelock works.
You know how the British work, though. They're so charming.
Oh, God, I can imagine.
Yes, I wanted to connect Nick with Havelock desperately.
You searched your store to see just in case.
I looked around every corner. I was like, please let me deliver this man
Havelock
to
here?
Nick at the BBC.
Oh, sweetheart. Havelock.
Nick's legit. I have his resume here and his credentials and his
Come to
references.
the phone, dear. And he never showed up. Havelock never showed up.
I had to tell Nick eventually, like, really? This is just a store, and I don't hang out with rappers or hip hop
Wow.
journalists.
Wow.
I'm not lying to you. I'm not gatekeeping.
So-
I'm not just dumb.
Why was he calling Stomping Grounds in
Okay.
Geneva, New York? How did Nick from the BBC get you on the horn?
There are so many stomping grounds out there. Most of them, granted, are coffee shops.
Okay.
There's a variety. One is like a playground in Iowa or something, and
Okay, cute.
there's a lot of them
Cute.
all over the country
Cute.
and possibly all over the world. There's
Possibly.
also one known as Stomping Grounds Entertainment, which is kind of like a media thing, and it's not the same.
This podcast episode is going to be so embarrassing for Nick at the BBC.
Sorry, we don't usually like to name drop.
Sorry,
and
Nick.
out people. Nick, you were so charming. I'm so sorry I couldn't help you.
I bet he's handsome.
He probably is.
Yeah.
We got to
With an
stalk
accent
him.
like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick.
Big
Call
deal
anytime.
journalist. Yes.
We can't hook you up with it.
If you want to speak to Kelly Walker, another big deal journalist,
We can get you guys
give me a
talking.
ring.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. So by the time you hung up the phone, were you completely convinced that Havelock was in your store? You just couldn't find him?
I was confused. And I was really bummed.
Yeah.
I was really bummed that I wasn't quite that important
Yeah.
or well connected.
Oh.
But just another day at Stomping Grounds Art Books Gifts in Geneva, New York.
That is my favorite thing. Did they ever make the documentary or did you ruin it
I have
for
no
them?
idea. I have no idea if
You wrecked it.
it was the end for the BBC's endeavor there, but
We'll never know.
we'll never know. We could probably look it up.
Well, okay. We got some social media content we can probably churn out on this one. So I'll get to work.
Well, that was a wild ride, Marilla.
Yeah, that was a lot of griping on our part.
I think that something that we've really established, though, is sometimes it's innocent.
Yes.
Sometimes the gaslighting is innocent.
I think so.
And so,
Comical.
honest mistakes, silly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It gives us something to yap about at coffee and on our podcast.
Sometimes it seems a little bit more mean, sometimes a little bit nefarious, but
Right. It can come from different places, but for the most part, it is what it is. It's all part of the racket, It's all part of the game.
It's interesting how often, though, we go along, we just jump on board for the gaslighting. Like,
Right.
yes, I'll get you a supplement for that. Or
Maybe try
no,
this body
Chuck
wash.
has left us, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately, we had to fire him in disgrace. And I never want to hear that name again. Maybe we should just start leaning into it, Beth.
Yeah, I guess so.
We'll see what happens after today.
Yep. Well, thank you for another charming episode, Marilla, and for
Thank
wearing
you.
blue from foot to head.
Thank you for charming us with your presence on your birthday.
No
And
problem.
I hope when this episode airs, you will get many happy birthday wishes weeks after your real
It's
birthday.
never too late.
Never too late.
Okay.
We chat about the biz, it is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or at tyfupod.com. Our theme music was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
I'm trying to work on that response in myself, by the way. I'm determined to be more hospitable, and I'm trying to work on that response.